you have been the beneficiaries of this thing.
Mr. Roy Wood Jr. is in the building.
Yes.
You said yes. Yes, you are. You just wrapped up a panel discussion with the legendary MC Light that was incredible. So my question to you is, just on an average day, what hip hop? We in 50 years. We celebrating 50 years. What you pumping in your car?
I'm a Southern boy, so I came up Outkast, UGK, so I'm always gravitate, to that Southern 3-6, Pastor Troy, Master P, Cash Money, Luther Campbell as well. And I want to make sure when we talk 50 years of hip hop that we do not forget the contributions of Luther Campbell and Two Live Crew, not just musically and sonically, but let's talk about the fact that whoever your favorite rapper is, the only reason that rapper ain't in jail is because of Luther Campbell.
So
He went to war with the Supreme Court and won for the right to cuss. Luther Campbell is the reason your favorite rapper can cuss without going to jail. I didn't say I co-signed him having sex on stage in the middle of a concert.
I was just wondering what you was co-signing on. I was wondering.
I'm co-signing the legal dossier of Luther Campbell versus the United States.
We're going to switch to comedy. We're going to switch to comedy right now. Let me stick to my list. I didn't know that was going to go that way. But let me ask you this. Your style a lot of times intersects deeper societal issues and humor at the same time. So when we talk about today's climate, where every joke is dissected on social media, how do you balance humor and responsibility without losing your core message?
I think you have to do what's true to you, and that people who like it will gravitate to it, period, point blank. Specificity is the new broad. So I don't think that you can come into the game trying to appeal to everybody. You will lose. And even if you're in a space of doing something that's you don't think is offensive, someone else could be offended by it. And there's always going to be people that aren't going to find a joke funny or going to find it insensitive, and there's different degrees of insensitivity. But regardless, I think it's a comedian's job to present their truth, but the comedian also has to understand that some corporations, some companies, some networks, they're not going to rock with you if your truth doesn't meet their fiscal capitalistic value.
Let's talk about that, because there's also always this conversation about how much Black comedians make, how much their white counterpart makes, and the fight for that, right? The fight for access. When it comes to, the respect for Black comedians and the fight even over the wages that they should be making, how have you been able to kind of weather that? What's your advice to people that's trying to be in the game and they're like, I'm not getting the respect I feel like I want?
Find your audience and you will find your power. That's really where we are now in society. If you have an audience and people rock with you, you will be undeniable. And I know that sounds very formulaic, but the people that are underpaying you are doing it because they can. And if you have the power through people showing up to see you, then you control your own narrative. And I think that we're wanting to be paid the same to try and do the same. But if you can do more than that, then no one can control you.
Just a couple of more questions, and one is one that we see talked about a lot. So we're talking about the field of comedy and how it's changing, the rise of TikTok comedians. Some are saying, is that really a comedian? Is it not? People who are just doing skits. It's no more just coming to the stage and doing your set, but the landscape is changing, right? Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I think that wherever someone seeks joy, that is comedy. Is a TikToker the same as a live stage performer? No. Does that mean he's less than? I don't know. If I do something that a group of people see fit to pay money to come see in person, what have I done wrong? I think the issue is that the word comedy for so long meant one single artistic column of presenting something and structuring it in a way that is much more home cooked versus what some would say is brown and served in terms of internet comedy. But to say that internet comedy doesn't have a worth, if we're gonna be real about it, some of these TikTokers keeping the doors of the comedy clubs open because they selling tickets. They selling tickets. So you have to be very careful in dismissing someone simply because they don't do what you do. The problem is the only place for them to do it is where home cooking was traditionally done, and I think that's where people take issue. I think that this argument about TikTokers versus stand-ups is an argument that's solely happening from creatives. I ain't never heard a regular person buy a ticket to a comedy club talking about, well, I prefer over her. They show up, they pay money. Did they laugh? Yes or no? Mission accomplished. That's all the average consumer cares about. So I think if you fixate yourself on finding your audience and finding the people who rock with you, don't even worry about what is or isn't comedy. Just present yours and hope that somebody want to pay money so you can pay bills.
Lastly, what's next up for Roy Wood Jr.? Let the people know.
I'm sorry for getting angry on that last question. I felt I was very aggressive.
No, it's good.
I'm just tired of people running their mouth. What's next for me? I'm blessed to be on tour. You know, we're on the backside of the writer's strike, hopefully the backside of the actor's strike pretty soon. So for now, I'm on the road coast to coast telling my jokes, putting a couple other pots on the stove, and hopefully once the actor's strike ends as well, a lot of these scripts and these emails that I got saved in the drafts, I can press send on and sell them and then bring more stuff to the light.
Thank you so much for the work. Thank you for the hard work that you put in and for your advice. And much blessings to you in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And y'all can follow me on TikTok at Roy Wood Jr. I'm on TikTok. Please follow me. Please, Jesus Christ, I have to pay for this child.
You know what?
And I might be coming to the live podcast network pretty soon. I got my IP back from Comedy Central. Yeah.